And a lot of pundits, even those who are skeptical of Donald Trump, seem to give that meeting very high marks. There are reports that you and Governor Chris Christie, among others, have been internally in the Trump campaign pushing Trump to do things more like that, more presidential in tone, for want of a better term. But later that day, Trump went to Arizona and he gave an immigration speech that was perceived as so harsh that even the Republican National Committee scrapped plans to praise that speech. In a way, sir, did your side of the struggle within the Trump campaign win the morning but lose the night?
No, we won both. And both sides won, and there aren't two sides. I think if you have to read the AP story that came out of that speech. The AP story says Donald Trump retreats on mass deportation. It is true the speech was delivered in I'd say a dramatic style because it was a rally audience. But if you read that speech carefully, that speech is consistent with what he said in the past, and it leaves a very big opening for what will happen with the people that remain here in the United States after the criminals are removed and after the border is secure. And he says in a very, very important sentence, which everybody seemed to ignore, but AP, he says there that at that time, when America is safe, we will be open to all of the options, meaning that Donald Trump, as he expressed in one of his interviews recently, would find it very, very difficult to throw out a family that's been here for 15 years, and they have 3 children, 2 of whom are citizens, and that is not the kind of America he wants. His main focus of that speech, and I think the reason for the emotion in it, was because of all of those mothers who came up whose children were killed by illegal criminal immigrants.
Right, but
all of the policies, all 10 policies, are largely directed toward criminal illegal immigrants, which the Obama administration releases into the streets of our city.
So let me just
which is actually, they have an insane policy. I was a prosecutor most of my life.
But Mr.
called
Mayor,
catch and release.
But Mr.
They
Mayor,
catch criminals and they release them.
I just want to understand what you're saying here. So Mr. Trump will not be trying to kick out the Dreamers. He will not be having a deportation force, and he no longer wants to get all 11 million undocumented immigrants out of this country.
What he said in the speech is, after we secure the border, and after we remove the criminal illegal immigrants to a large extent, you're never going to get to 100%, then and only then can we look at this in a very rational way in which we can look at all the options and be open to all the options.
And he doesn't want to separate families, as you say.
Well, I would say that would be one of the things that would be pretty clear. There are other options, too. I mean, it's going to depend on the person. I mean, some of these people could have been on welfare for the last 30 years or taking benefits or cheating, and maybe some of them have to be thrown out, but not necessarily all of them. And that's the point that he was making in the speech. And I agree with you, that point got lost to some extent in the emotion of the moment. And the emotion of the moment were the 12 mothers, I think 10 mothers and 2 fathers who came up, who have been killed by illegal immigrants released because of the incompetent policies of the Obama administration, which Hillary Clinton is just going to continue.
All right. Mr. Mayor, thank you so much. We appreciate your time as always.
Thank you.